Welcome back, sci-fi fans, to the Science Fictionary Podcast. I'm Andrew, and let's talk about a little bit of what's going on in the world of sci-fi. So let's see. We'll give people just a minute to see if they can um, jump in here. So while we wait to get started here for a minute, it's a little bit of a weird time. I don't know if anybody will drop in or not. Be sure to go over and check out all of my friends over at the Red 5 Network, though. Um, let's see. You can go over to Force of Light. They've had some really great watch alongs of some reactions to one of my favorite series in Firefly. So definitely go check those out. Of course, their live streams on Mondays. You can go check out Comics. And this morning, Danny was talking about a lot of stuff in the DC world with the Snyder Bros and the Wonder Woman rumors, and I'm not sure what else. I didn't get to catch that whole show, but she did talk a bunch of DC stuff, as well as what I'm going to talk about here in a minute with the Spaceballs sequel, if it's really happening. Nick, welcome to the chat. Good to see you as always. Let's see. Nick, you got anything coming up? Any shows coming up soon over on your channel? I know Rose got some stuff coming up over at the Scarif podcast. So yeah, just go check out Red 5 Network and check out all of the shows happening over there. There's a little bit of something for everyone. Let's see what else is going on. So yeah, if you want to get involved, if you've either never read The Hobbit or you would like to read it again and read it with a group, Red 5 Reading is with Nicole is currently reading The Hobbit. So definitely go check out that if you're interested in getting involved with that. Red 5 Reading's been covering a lot of good stuff. I haven't had a chance to do a lot of reading along with them, but they've been reading a lot. They've always got something going on over there, so you definitely want to check that out. I am reading The Hobbit again with them. The Hobbit is a book that I usually historically have read just about every year since I was 9 years old. But I hadn't read it in a few years, so I'm excited to be reading that again. I think they may have a chat coming up on Friday ahead of the Red 5 Tavern if you would like to get involved there, or not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday. I believe they will be covering maybe the entirety of the book, or the last 10 chapters, maybe if by some chance Nicole pops in here, she can set us straight on that. But I know they covered last Sunday, covered the first 10 episodes. Nick, I'm looking forward to seeing you do something again. I'm very sorry to see that you have been sick. I can certainly understand the busy part of that, because I have been swamped for months now. And every time I say I'm going to get the show going again, something happens and disrupts my schedule. But I'm trying to at least do one a week now. Hoping to do a good bit more than that, but jumping in here today to do that. So in addition to the Tolkien stuff, or sounded like someone came in my front door, and I'm home alone, so I really hope that's not what I just heard. So of course, one of the debates for me with reading The Hobbit was, which copy do I read? Do I read the really nice leather-bound copy that sits back here? I have read that copy. It's a beautiful copy, but it's one of those copies that's almost too pretty to get out and read it frequently. But I got this one, I believe, for my birthday last year from Marisha. This is what I love about these copies. One, they're just gorgeous copies with the runes, and but they have a glossary list of all of Tolkien's original, a lot of his original sketches. So instead of, they've had some fantastic artists over the years cover Tolkien stuff. I mean, I've got some really nice Tolkien artwork, but it is fun reading through this and seeing um, his original sketches that he was drawing as he was writing. Um, Ubaldo, thank you for jumping in the chat. Good to see you as always. Yeah, I'm assuming you're reading it with are you reading it with the Red 5 reading group? Because I intend to join y'all for the next go round there next week, I guess. But beautiful copy of The Hobbit. If you don't have a good copy and want a hardback copy, these are the most recent iterations. Of course, it's one of the few sets that has a matched copy. Ooh, can't really see that. A matched copy of the Silmarillion. Wow, that's so bright you can't even see the runes. And of course, gosh, man, that white is really reflective. Nice copy of the Lord of the Rings that I just got. And if I can find my pocket knife here, I'm going to open it. Does this work for a pocket knife? I guess it's going to today. I'm trying not to poke a hole in my book. How many I'm assuming, Ubaldo, that you've read The Hobbit possibly a number of times. How did you enjoy it on your most recent read through? There we go. For free, that beautiful copy of Lord of the Rings from its plastic prison there. It's a beautiful copy. You know, I have a little torn. I love nice hardback books, but there is something to be, said for separating these three books because this is a enormous book. Now, in the same vein, so back here on the shelf, right here is the Histories of Middle Earth. That's the complete set as it has existed for the last, 10 years or so. There's been a number of variations, either that or you had to basically collect all of them separately. But it's going to take me a couple of rounds of purchases to get all of these. And when they do, they'll replace the big set back there. But I am loving these new copies of the histories books. This is actually volume 3. It's a 4-book set. Again, beautiful artwork on these. I'm not sure who did. Let's see if I can tell who did the artwork on these. There's been so many artists over the years that have done beautiful artwork for the Tolkien stuff. It's sort of his long flowing descriptions of things certainly invite a lot of artists to give their take. But this is a four box set. So I've got the first. This is volume 3. I kind of did them out of order, but hopefully soon I will be getting the other 3 sets. And then I'll have to figure out what to do with that big set back there, because it is still a beautiful set of books. So maybe we will, maybe once I get all of these and replace my set, we'll do a giveaway with that set, because it is, like I said, a beautiful set in itself. This one's just a lot prettier to look at. And then the other book I got for my birthday, if you've never read these, they add so much context to everything that Tolkien wrote. So, and of course, there's been some new letters uncovered over the last few years, and this contains a lot of those newer, more newly revealed books. Let's see. So what else has been going on? Danny talked about some interesting stuff this morning, but I'm just not as well versed on the DC stuff, to be honest. I am looking forward to this Superman movie. The trailers are certainly, interesting. I don't like to judge CGI too much from a trailer, especially when you're seeing things out of context. I will say there are things in the CGI that I'm a little concerned. They may have just tried to make it look a little less realistic, a little more comic book, which, is certainly, I mean, that's a design aspect for sure. I mean, that's a choice. Zack Snyder has certainly um, made an entire career out of that, going back to the 300. And I'll give it to him, as much as I kind of grieve Zack Snyder's choices in with his DC properties. Um, his choices are interesting with DC, because I think most of his casting is very good. But I just feel like maybe it's the take on some of the characters that I didn't enjoy. And of course, you spent all these years building up the DCEU, and you do one Batman movie. I don't know. I have complaints, but um, as far as graphic novel or comic book straight to screen, 300 is maybe the most accurate translation of a comic book or a graphic novel over to live action, as far as just pure visually. I mean, there, a lot of shots in that film that they, practically recreated from the book. Um, so yeah, the only thing, I guess, so I know one of the things that Danny talked about this morning was that they are now making they're rumored to be working on a Wonder Woman film. It still bugs me a little bit that it appears they might be, because the Batman movie that came out a couple of years ago is not part of James Gunn's DC universe. So I'm a little irked that looks like we're probably going to do a Wonder Woman movie ahead of a Batman movie. Either that, or they're just not telling us about the Batman movie yet. I don't know, but um, comic book movies, as much as I love them, have certainly been a bit of a frustration lately. Really hoping that Superman and Fantastic Four can kind of breathe some life back into the genre, because, as previously mentioned on here, despite the fact that the Thunderbolts was a very good movie, and that Captain America 4 wasn't a terrible movie. I mean, I enjoyed it. And not as much as I enjoyed Thunderbolts, but two decent Marvel movies this year, and they both lost an awful lot of money. So maybe, I don't know, maybe these movies breathe some life back into the genre, but we will see. Spaceballs. Let's talk about Spaceballs. Danny talked about that some this morning as well. Look, I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan, but I think a lot of people saw that trailer and went, "Oh, Mel Brooks is making another Spaceballs movie." And the problem is really that it's not Mel Brooks making a Spaceballs movie. He's going to be in it. I'm sure he'll have some oversight. But look, Mel Brooks is 98 years old. Mel Brooks is not going to want to be there all the time. And worst of all, I don't believe that Mel Brooks is even involved in the writing of this sequel. And of course, I assume it's really happening. This isn't the first time that Mel Brooks has come out and announced a sequel, of course. Or I'm sorry, Mel Brooks came out back in the early 2000s and said they were making a prequel about a young Dark Helmet starring Jonathan Lipnicki. And of course, that all ended up being a very tongue-in-cheek joke. I think this is really getting made. It appears to have writers attached to it. Nick, if they take 2 years which is pretty average at this point to make this movie. I have some real concerns about whether Mel makes it through to see it go to theater, and um, so yeah, that's a big concern. Um, I think my biggest concern right now, as far as this goes, of course, there's always a risk when you pull a classic like Spaceballs. I mean, look, I know a lot of people love Spaceballs. A lot of us love Spaceballs because it's a parody of one of our favorite things of all time in Star Wars, and it has some very, very fantastic jokes in it. It's a terribly made movie. Nowhere near even Mel Brooks' greatest work. I mean, Mel Brooks has some brilliant works out there, but what really concerns me about Spaceballs 2, whatever they decide to call it, the search for more money or another title if they decide to do it, is that Mel Brooks is not writing it. The writers for Spaceballs 2 at this moment appears to be Josh Gad, Dan Hernandez, and Jimmy Samet. Um, I don't know that much about the other two guys. I know that it appears very much to be it's the writing staff for 1600 Pin, which is a show that has not performed well. But you can sort of see the connections, where let's see, let me pull this up real quick. Bill Pullman, of course, has owned that show. So all three writers are staff writers on 1600 Pin. So you can sort of see where some of this has come about. But they recently own, somebody will have to remind me, I believe it's on Hulu that they did a History of the World Part 2. It might have been Netflix, but I really think it was Hulu. That, now, of course, History of the World Part 1, there's good stuff in there. You're not going to find a whole lot of people that are going to claim that's their favorite Mel Brooks film, but there's some good jokes in there for sure. Some all-time classics. But History of the World Part 2 was so bad. I know supposedly Mel Brooks is listed as a writer on History of the World Part 2, along with a few other guys. I don't remember who's on it. I know Nick Kroll was one of the writers on there. It is very much anti-comedy. It is not funny in the least. I couldn't even make it through it. It's everything came across like really bad SNL sketches. So that's, of course, my biggest concern with this is, I mean, look, today, I don't even know if you could make, I don't even know, could you even make the first Spaceballs movie today? I really don't think you could. And they're making a sequel. But I think that Mel Brooks' style of comedy is so off limits in a lot of ways today. So yeah, I have very little faith that this movie will be funny, especially without Mel Brooks at the helm. And what concerns me there is I feel like no Mel Brooks at the helm, and the other three guys, I've never seen anything from Josh Gad that made me think, oh yeah, he's the next Mel Brooks. He understands Mel Brooks humor. That's the thing. Like History of the World Part 2, they brought in Nick Kroll, who's certainly accomplished, not really my brand of humor for the most part, but like doesn't remind me of Mel Brooks's humor in the least. And so when you go in to make a part 2 of something classic like History of the World or Spaceballs, like why would you at least not go for the same type of humor? So yeah, I'm very, very concerned about that movie just being terrible. Let's see what else is going on. That was, of course, the big one I wanted to talk about. Is there any Star Wars? So I don't know that we really have a whole lot of Star Wars news. At some point, I'm going to have to go back and catch up on all of the stuff from Star Wars Celebration. Um, Star Wars just really has kind of fallen off the map here. Like they're just not putting out a tremendous amount of stuff I'm super excited about. I am going to start. I started the first episode of Andor season 2 last night, so hopefully over the next few days I can finish a bunch of that up. We got, let's see, this weekend we've got Mississippi Comic-Con. I was looking forward to meeting Jonathan Frakes this weekend, but it looked like he canceled. So I'm not real sure. It's a lot of wrestling people that I don't know. Probably a Power Ranger or two, because they do all the cons these days. But I'm not really sure if there's anybody. Let's see who's on the guest list for Mississippi Comic-Con. Mississippi Comic-Con. Oh, Randy Quaid's there. I forgot Randy Quaid was going to be there. Ron Perlman, Melissa Joan Hart, Will Wheaton. Of course, that's the big joke, that Will Wheaton is coming to Mississippi Comic-Con, which is a joke from, relates to a joke from Big Bang Theory. Ray Park is coming, but I've met Ray Park a couple of times, so I don't know that I'll be doing that. We got some kind of Power Ranger. I've never heard of him. I want to say, yeah, so we were also supposed to have Wallace Shawn, who I was looking forward to. So the two people I was most looking forward to at Mississippi Comic-Con this weekend were Wallace Shawn and Jonathan Frakes, and they're neither one going to be there. So, that sucks. But we do have Ron Perlman and Randy Quaid will be interesting anyway. Not usually Randy Quaid, not usually the kind of guy that you go to a con to see, though. So that's an interesting one. And then, of course, we're in the process of preparing for Dragon Con, and Dragon Con is still announcing guests. There's Dragon Con's a lot slower, it seems like, but it's such a massive con. It seems like they will spend several months rolling out their guest list. Let's see. I know the big one is Shatner. So that's, Shatner's always a big get, and Shatner is always a fantastic panel. So we'll be looking forward to that one. Kevin J. Anderson will be there among the writers. Hopefully, Stackpole will come back. I'm a little disappointed that so far they have not announced Timothy Zahn, as I usually get a Timothy Zahn book autographed every year. So I may have to just go get a Kevin J. Anderson book done this year. But they've done something to their list here. I can't actually look up to see who the guests are. I don't know what they've done. Oh, we got some ghost hunters coming. Actors, they just hadn't announced a whole lot. So we'll do some more announcements on that later. Oh, they do have Timothy Zahn and Michael Stackpole on the guest list, and SM Sterling. Those are some really, really good ones. Theoretically, Shatner's supposed to be there. I don't see him on this list, but I hadn't heard they've changed that. And a bunch of several members of the cast from the show Psych, if anybody's a Psych fan. All right. Well, that's going to actually do it for this episode. I just kind of wanted to jump in and talk about my thoughts on the Spaceballs sequel. I'm afraid they've waited too late to make that movie, but we will see, because it sounds like it's for real and coming soon. But Ubaldo and Nick, thanks for joining me in the chat. I'll be back soon. Until next time, may the force be with you.